Welcome to this week's edition of the Margin News, the place where you can get a quick overview of the goings-on in the world of Dragon Ball from around the world. Without further ado, here are the biggest news announcements from the previous week. Dragon Ball Project Z has been officially renamed as Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, following the popular nomenclature for the smash hit movie Dragon Ball Super Broly. Hoping to emulate the movie's international success, the action RPG, which was revealed to be in development at the start of this year, broke cover at this year's E3 event in California with a short trailer showcasing the game's look, feel, and initial content. Later on June 9th, over 10 minutes worth of gameplay was released via IGN, which showed the game calls back to the open-world elements from the Budokai games of the early 2000s, with elements of semi-linear exploration, with a cel-shaded tone and text-based dialogue, as well as a cameo from Dragon Ball favourite Android 8. With a layout similar to a lot of MMORPGs, which includes level bars, objectives, and controls on screen, this game seems to vary differently from recent Dragon Ball games, and in fact, plays similarly to Final Fantasy games from the last two outings. Minigames are also featured in gameplay coverage, which include Goku using his tail to catch fish. How Goku is able to grow his tail back is not explained, but it makes for a very Legend of Zelda-esque side quest. With this diverse range of things to do, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot looks to set itself apart from Xenoverse and Fighters and occupy another genre for those not keen to take up esports. The game is out early 2020. One of Akira Toriyama's publishers, Akio Iyoku, has mentioned in a recent interview that the team behind Dragon Ball are looking into the possibilities of a new movie for the franchise in the medium to long term. Mr. Iyoku is in charge of the famous Dragon Room, which concentrates on making Dragon Ball related content specifically for all sorts of mediums, including anime, manga, and video games. In a pamphlet for the Dragon Ball Super Broly Japanese home release, as translated by the Twitter user GorishX, there was an interview in which Mr. Iyoku and the producer of the Broly movie were talking, and the subject then came to future movie ideas, with Mr. Iyoku musing ideas and what his team had learned from Broly's widely successful outing in the box office. "We are steadily making preparations for the next Dragon Ball movie. Broly was excessively powerful, so we think things will probably head in a completely different direction next time around. I think Dragon Ball will continue from here on out, so we want you all to look forward to what's coming up next. There are a bunch of things that we could not do this time, so I think whatever comes next will be even more incredible. Please look forward to it." Even though this comment is vague in detail, it does provide clues that Dragon Ball has plenty more content coming out in the next few years, with or without a new movie. It must be said that this is not concrete evidence of a specific movie, and based on the timeline of announcements for the Broly movie, information will most likely not be made available until next year at the earliest. One of the creative directors of Adult Swim, the host of the popular late-night anime timeslot Toonami, has gone on record to address the recently realised quality issues surrounding the dub release of Dragon Ball Super on American TV. Reports had come in that, when compared to the original streaming of the episodes in Japanese last year, the frame rate at certain points of the episode had been drastically altered or downgraded. This led to many complaints across social media, with no or little response coming from Adult Swim themselves. However, this all changed last week when Jason DeMarco, one of Toonami's showrunners, went on Twitter and wrote a multi-tweet statement on the matter. Mr. DeMarco recalled the case surrounding Pokemon's flashing episodes from back in the late 90s, which led to seizures being reported in relation to the broadcast. This then led to the establishing of a broadcast standard called the Harding test, so as to ensure such an event wouldn't happen again. Mr. DeMarco continued to say that the last few eps of DBS have had fight scenes that are cut to about 1 frame per edit in some places. They evidently fail the Harding test. Our program edit folks who do these tests normally just slow the cuts down in these scenes to about 4 frames per second. In the case of these DBS eps, it made the fight scenes look insanely slow. With broadcast standards most likely differing between Japan and American services, Mr. DeMarco's team acknowledged the quality concerns, and then promised fans they would do everything they can to improve quality should precautions need to be implemented. However, with broadcast standards and practices being quite strict, there is only so much that Toonami can do to both appease fans and televisual inspectors. It is most likely that this issue will not be seen on home releases of the episodes. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2's future has been secured once more with a shock announcement that the game will be made available on Google's new streaming console service, Google Stadia. With the game approaching its 4th year of support, this makes the game the most supported and most widespread title within the Dragon Ball video game roster, which spans over 30 years worth of content. The news, reported via Business Wire, marks the first major tie-in between Bandai Namco and Google specifically, with the Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Bandai Namco, Chris Gilbert, proudly detailing that Google Stadia platform will surely be an exciting addition to the video game marketplace, presenting cutting-edge technology that will open players up to even more video game experiences. With a strong fanbase and an active community, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 is a great selection as Bandai Namco Entertainment's first entry into the Stadia ecosystem, with which we hope to reach a new audience and continue to achieve our goal to provide more fun for everyone. Google Stadia's cloud gaming service will be released in November of this year, with many more games reported to be made available on it and many other platforms. Its service relies on a stable internet connection to stream games from a central server instead of locally based data on a player's own device. It's uncertain whether this version of Xenoverse 2 will contain all, some, or none of the DLC packs that have been released over the last few years, or that have yet to come out prior to November. Dragon Ball Fighter's shaky competitive scene has been hopefully supported by the announcement of an official World Tour event for the 2019-20 season of play. After the game's first World Tour, there had been speculation about the game's long-term future in the sporting scene after drastically dropping in representation at this year's EVO tournament after a strong first outing last year. This was off the back of Shueisha, the overall rights holder to Dragon Ball, imposing massive levies on smaller events who wished to host tournaments of the fighting game. This then led to a drop in events catered to the title. With this information in mind, Bandai Namco have decided to go all out with their second run of the Fighters World Tour, which will begin at CEO 2019, the well-reputed event which takes place at Daytona Beach in Florida at the end of June. Not much more information was given during the trailer announcement on Bandai Namco's YouTube channel, nor on their official website for the tournament, which can be found at dbfzworldtour.com. More information will be made available prior to the first round of this tour. And finally, the main theme to the movie Dragon Ball Super Broly has been crowned the most popular anime song in Japan for the first half of this year. Billboard of Japan recently revealed a multitude of charts detailing the performance of songs from the first 6 months of this year, and the theme to Dragon Ball's 20th cinematic release came out on top of overall listings for the anime genre. The song Blizzard by Daiichi Miura was, like with Dragon Ball's 2 previous listings, used in both English and Japanese markets, with alterations only extending to the lyrics for the purposes of localization. Miura's track has received overall praise from the community, but this is the first time the track has actually topped any sort of chart, with its highest charting upon release being at number 2 on Japan's Oricon Sales Index. The Broly movie, where this track can be found, is now available on DVD, digital download and Blu-ray release. That is all from today's Margin News. If you have any news concerning Dragon Ball that may be of interest to us, use the hashtag Margin News and we shall credit you and fact check the information. Thank you. And until next week, it's goodbye from us.